out of apartment 5B.
You're now tuned into the Apartment 5B podcast, where we chop it up about hip-hop, R&B, sports, love and life. Hosted by Kill.
What's good? You're tuning to Apartment 5B, hosted by your man, Kel. I got my squad with me in effect, as always. My mother raised me right. Ladies first. Jim, what's going on, miss?
Nothing much. How are you? How's everyone doing?
Everything is good. I'm hype about this show. Vague, BK, what's good, bro?
Chilling, man. Chilling. I'm losing weight. I'm getting happy.
Hey.
Brother, it was a struggle for a minute. It was a struggle. It was a struggle.
I feel you, bro. What you doing? You counting calories? You in the gym? What you doing?
It's what I did when I was 30. But at least back then, I was all fat. Like it was just all fat. There was I ain't have no strength, nothing. But it's a matter of diet, right? Watching your calories. But I've always kind of done that. But the other thing is exercise, man. A lot of cardio, some weights. And on Saturday, I just tell people this because people who really want to lose, check with your doctor first. I do an hour and 30 minutes of cardio with the sauna suit on. That's the joint you see the boxes.
I love that. Yeah.
Right. And when I tell you I walk to the car and I gotta like release, and it's just like I just poured out a bottle of water. I'm like, it's working. So
right.
I'm about 30 pounds lighter. So
that's what's up.
Still got some more to go, but got to keep getting down, man. People getting used to that shit. Like, nah, I like you like that. Like, I'm overweight for my height.
Yeah.
Right.
When you lose weight, people say, "Oh no, it was nothing. You look good the way you were." It's like, no, like my knees are killing me. Like,
what?
Yeah, man. I feel you. I just did a site visit tonight, and I've met this woman many a times. And at the end of the visit, she was like, "It's something different about you." I was like, "Probably the bear." She was like, "Nah, it's not that." I was like, "I lost 50 pounds." She was like, "That's it. That's what it. You was a big guy. You used to be really big." And I'm like, "Well, I guess." Damn. Right, like I guess. Cool. But, she's like, "I didn't mean to say it like that, but you was bigger." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I guess I was. Part of the game." But yeah, JR, youngest in charge, R&B guru. What's going on?
Good to be back. I missed 2 weeks, so good to be back, man.
Hey man, I'm hype about this show, man. This week we are chopping it up about magazines, man. And for people who are young, this is gonna be a great learning moment for you to understand why magazines was so important to us. I mean, I was trying to explain to my young boy, and I said, imagine if you could only get online 2 days a month, like the first and the second of the month. And the rest of the month, you don't know what's going on in the world, like nothing, and then you got to wait again till the following month for the first and the second. And he was just like, yo, man, like, Vague, my kids already fuck with me on some old, you went to school without the internet? Like, how did you do that? You know what I mean? So then telling them you only get Wi-Fi 2 days out the month. Like, I said, bro, these magazines were what we get every day. This was ramped up and we had to wait a whole month for it. You know what I mean? So we're going to be chopping it up about our top 5 magazines, why they were so important, different sections of the magazines. I mean, just everything about magazines. So if you're a young boy, it's a learning experience. If you're an old head, trust me, you're going to reminisce. We got a lot of good stuff up in here. Jen, ladies first, what are your just top 5 music magazines ever? I mean, we can go back as far as you want. What are your top 5?
So we're doing 5. The Source, of course, Double XL, Vibe. I was big on like Right On and Word Up were my first 2 magazines too, so it'll be my top 5.
I mean, mine is damn near the exact same. Source, XL, Vibe, Right On, and I got Rap Pages. That was like, for people in the 90s, you kind of had the Source, you had Rap Pages around the same time. They had a joint called Rap Sheets, which was actually a newspaper that would fold out for. I actually interned there for a summer too. So me and Jen in the same MySpace. JR, what about you? Top 5 music mags.
I got Vibe, Ebony, Jet, Black Beat, and Word Up.
Ooh, Black
Man.
Damn, I forgot about
Black Beat. Black Beat, man.
Yes.
Black Beat, man. You know, man. Oh man, we gonna reminisce on this. Vay, what about you, bro?
I'm like y'all. I had a top 3, but I can add 2 easily. Right On, Word Up, Source, Double XL, and Vibe. Like, you know, I had subscriptions to all of those at some point. So.
Right. All right, let's dive in with the Source, because one of my young boys was like, if you know me, you know I rate everything in my life on 5 mics. Everything. Relationships, marriages, fucking friendships, sex, everything is on a 5 mic rating scale. You know what I mean? Even Naomi, she was beefing one of her teachers. I was like, how many mics you give? She was like 2.5. Like, everything in the whole house is based on the mic system, the Source. Jen, talk about, when was the first time do you remember getting your hands on the Source, and why was it so dope to you?
So first issue of the Source I ever got, I believe I bought it with my parents. It was like wasn't Barnes and Nobles, but like Walden Books. It was one of those kind of commercial bookstores. And this is when they had magazine section in the back. And it was the cover with the Source with Mary J. Blige on the cover, and the all white is sitting on like the block of ice.
Right. Yeah.
I already loved Mary, and that thing just called to me, and I begged my mom, like, it was like $3.
Yes.
I was like, please, give me this magazine. She got it, and I remember just opening it up, and that was like my first. And every time we go to the grocery store every other month, I'd be running to the back or scouring to go look to see if the new Source dropped. But yeah, that was my very first cover or my first issue of Source.
And for people watching, this is the reminiscent part, because I remember the Source covers was literally right there with album covers. So the same way, if you're explaining a Criminal Minded album cover or a Paid in Full, like, I know the exact issue you're talking about. You know what I mean? Because the Source was literally like the hip hop Bible. Like, that literally was it about it. The first time I remember getting a Source, I remember the Source being a newsletter and it just being a 1-pager. Like, this, like in '89. Like, it literally was just like a 1-pager, like a piece of paper. And it would just kind of be like, you know, top 5 albums, you know, it was like a real quick highlight of hip hop. And then just from then, you know, it eventually became the magazine. I remember KRS being on one of the first covers and everything like that. But I mean, the Source to me was just, I mean, it's like I said, it was the hip hop Bible. It's where you got everything. It's where you got your record reviews. It's when, you know, we're going to talk about the ads. The ads in these magazines were just almost as part of the magazine. Like, you wanted to see, especially Vibe. We'll get into the Hilfiger, Aaliyah era of Vibe. But I mean, the ads in these magazines were just as crazy as the content of the magazines. I mean, again, for people who are on Twitter, the Source was like Twitter. You know what I mean? For people who can't get off IG, the Source was our IG. This is how we got our information and everything like that. So that's the first time I remember getting it. I wish Kelv could have made this show, because I talk about him all the time, because at Morgan, I don't know how he did it, but his Source got to him first before everybody. I don't know what he did, but other people had subscriptions, but Kelvin was always the first with the Source, and I would just be in class begging him. Like, when the new Source came out, it was like the new Clue came out, and the new doo-wop tape. Like, it literally every month was like a record release to get the Source, to get your hands on it, to see who's on the cover, to see what articles was in there. JR, we're at the Source. When do you remember the first time getting the Source and everything like that?
The same one with Jen. I'll never forget January of 1995 when Mary was on.
This nigga, this nigga better never forget my fucking birthday, because JR will tell you the month of magazine drop. This is SWB's 28th anniversary. This nigga knows every anniversary. You better never forget my birthday, bro.
The reason why I never will forget that cover, because we were leaving, because we would always come back home from South Carolina up north, and I never forget when it came out. I was like, Ma, I want this cover, and she was like, all right, I'll get it for you. Fuck it, I'll get it for you. Because I argued with her, and Mary, it was like the queen of ghetto love. She was in the white joint with sitting on ice. Like, that was it. And it was just like, she was talking about this, like, the My Life album in there and the transition of what's the 411 to that. Right. And I just never forget that cover. And she was so street, you know what I'm saying? And it was like so hood, and she was just like sitting just like this. So that's the first source that I remember. And my dad laughed because he was like, what? This is a hip hop magazine and he's bringing this in, you know what I mean? So I will never forget that cover. Never forget that.
And again, this is why I'm so hyped for this show, because the source covers was just like it was like an album cover. That could have been a 12-inch for Mary. That could have been a CD
really
single. Yes. You know, it was that dope. Veg, what about you? In Brooklyn, when was the first time you came across the source?
I don't know, because I think, for me back then, thinking about, Jen's story, it was, I had to go to like newsstands to get those kinds of magazines. Wasn't no newsstands on Gates Avenue between Bedford and Stuyvesant. No, it wasn't. Louis Stuyvesant, my bad. But I think the first time I saw it was in class. Somebody had the source, right? And you were hyped up, yo, this album coming out and this one reviewed, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, what? And they like, it's the source, and I'm like, oh well, I need one, because like you said, with the internet, that was our internet. That was like, we need to boot up on all the information regarding the rappers we know, rappers we don't know, and all of that. And I just remember just being fascinated by it, because it was a way, because we didn't even have cable back then, at least around that time when I first saw it. So it's a way for me to hear from some of my favorite artists, read about them, read about albums or whatever. So it was kind of sporadic for me, but eventually once I got my own subscription, because I knew, I was like, no, see, we're not going to go to Manhattan every weekend. I know my mom's.
Right.
I need this to come to the neighborhood. And then eventually they sold it in the supermarket around the way. So I used to do that. But yeah, man, you're right. And that Mary cover, I think what was so exciting about that was I was a huge fan. That was probably the first time I was putting my own money into something other than hip hop with What's the 411. So I was already a huge fan, and then when she was on the cover of the source, and I'm like, I don't think R&B people will be on the cover of this joint, like, and it was my life. So it was like, I don't know, it's a similar situation with the feeling of like Illmatic being in the source that one time. You just hyped. And them covers, man, we could talk about the covers. So
we gonna talk about the covers, and for people watching who don't know, this is one of the issues right here, and this is a prime example of see exclusive interview about the breakup of A Tribe Called Quest. So this is how we didn't go on Twitter and see Q-Tip and Ali and Fife beefing on IG and on the Joe Budden podcast and on this podcast. This is what we again, I don't even remember. Maybe y'all do. You remember how word got the air that Tribe was breaking up? I don't even remember.
It was all speculation. It was it was just a rumor. You had nothing really to go off of. You'd have to wait for those interviews, or if if somebody messy like Wendy Williams, because radio, somebody doing like a little blind, and like, oh, we heard. But yeah, there was no way to know unless somebody made an announcement. No official way to know.
And then didn't they do a Rap City about it? A Rap City?
Rap City. Rap City would have probably been, the second best thing that we could get. But I mean, like, Tribe breaking up, I remember getting this cover and seeing this and like grabbing it, like, yo, just going straight to it. Like what's going on? Like, what happened? Because again, and for people at home, you got the whole article. This is like when you really had to like read through everything. And I mean, again, this was just it. And for people who may not know, like, this is the record report. This is where you would get your mics. They gave the Love Movement 3.5 mics. What we feeling about that? We're gonna go into mic ratings later. We're gonna definitely talk about mic ratings. But what do y'all think? Love Movement 3.5 mics. Did they get that right?
No.
Lower? Just like the price is right. Lower or higher?
Lower.
Much lower than me.
Yes.
What about you, Jen?
I said lower.
Lower. All right. I'm one of the lone people who actually like the Love Movement, so I'm good with the 3.5 mics. And here go the ads. Look at Bokeem Woodbine doing a Beverly Hills Polo Club ad. This ain't even low. This is the Beverly Hills Polo Club. Like, this is beyond Polo Association now. Like, this is getting disrespectful to my brand. But I mean, again, just a great, you know, a joint like this. Like, even this, they were doing like a background of the Flip Mode tour. You know what I mean? So like, you got all of this in the source. I mean, again, this is where you found out when albums was coming out. This is the Mary joint, the live album. You know what I mean? Like, so again, you know, we weren't able to just go on Twitter and just find out everything in a heartbeat. You know, we had to really dig for stuff. I'm gonna grab another source down here before we start digging in the XXL.
This was 6 social media sites in one magazine.
Right, exactly. This joint right here looks like a whack cover because it's Murder Inc., but this was the producer issue. So I mean, they had interviews with Primo in this joint. They had up and coming producers right here. They had Ayatollah. Who else is on here? The Heat Makers. Ayatollah, the Heat Makers. Kareem Riggins. You know what I mean? So like, this is when people were just getting started. But again, man, I can't say enough about the source. All right, XXL. Jim, when's the first time you got down with XXL?
I was late to XXL because I die hard to the source. I'll probably say the Father's Day issue. The Fugees were on the cover. That's the first one I ever remember purchasing because that's the one that comes to my mind.
Dope. I know I was living in Atlanta, so it's 97. I'm in the grocery store and I'm like, XXL, like, what's this? And everything to me is always like, you the broke source. Like, if you, it's like you the imitation, you the broke ass source. Right. So what's this? And it was Goody Mob on the cover. They had 2 different covers. That's what caught me. Goody Mob was on the cover on one, and D'Angelo was on the like the alternate cover. And and this is how important magazines are, I think, to the culture, but especially for me. There's a piece, I still have it here somewhere in this house, and it was a piece written by this chick, Tanya Pendleton, called Voodoo Child. And it was about D'Angelo and him and the making of Voodoo. Article changed my entire life, literally. Like, you know, when I would read about D'Angelo studying the greats, you know, that literally got me as a producer in the mindset. Like, every Wednesday, I would get off work, I would come home, and I would just study a producer. I would just listen to Main Source, but I wouldn't listen to it as a fan. I would listen like, well, what breaks is Extra P using, and what is he doing? What's the technique? And I would study it like that. And that's what really got me into digging more, JR, into R&B and soul music, because I would know the singles, but I didn't know Marvin. I knew Marvin, what's going on, but I didn't know Hear My Dear. And like that D'Angelo article really, really got me wanting to learn more, not just be, you know, that person who just was on the edge. So that was like my intro to XXL. To me, it came at a good time because it was almost like the source was starting to fall off a little bit. Right. You know, it's starting to get a little, you know, we starting to get some funky mic ratings in there. Little Kim getting 5 mics and Benzino getting 5 mics. So it literally came at a time when it was like, y'all starting to fall off a little bit. And it seemed like a good pickup point. JR, what about you? Do you remember when you first started rocking with XXL?
I think the cover that I remember is the one when Busta was on it. I think this is 98, I think. And then this was the first time that I think who else was in it? I think Juvenile was in it. Fat Joe was in it because I think they were talking about something about pun, but I think I'm like Jen, I'm a little late to it, but I do remember that cover where Busta is like behind fire and he's like just like
I know which one you're talking about.
Yes, and that's the one I do remember. So that with XXL, that's the one I kind of remember. That one. All
right. Well, what about you, Vag?
I think for me, I knew about XXL early on, but I didn't consider like switching, because for me it was like I was like you, it was like some loyal shit, right? It's like,
Right.
well, the source is the source, but Benzino was turning me off, and I ended my subscription. So when they came out like with the G Unit, either the G Unit or the Shady joint that included G Unit cover, where that's where you had to go to learn their side of the story.
Right.
Because the source wasn't going to get Eminem and G Unit and all them because they were beefing with Benzino. So I think that's when I started to pay more attention to Double XL and their rating system, because we were just, everything was a mic and this and that. So it's like, oh, we got an extra large. What they got? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that's when I started to pay more attention to it. But yeah, they wound up doing some things that weren't necessarily duplicates, but it was dope in its own right.
Right. Very dope issue right here. This is where they redid the Great Day in Harlem, the Gordon Parks joint right here. It's actually a really dope pull-out joint. I mean, you literally got the whole pull-out of just, you know, all the MCs that got together in Harlem that day. So a very dope issue. And Veg, you were talking about the mic ratings in here, like you said. It was the sizes. So you had the double XL,
right,
the XL, you know, and people can zoom in and kind of see that, you know. They gave Pete Rock Soul Survivor extra large, man. Nah, man, that's a double X all day, man. Come on, man. That's a 5 mic album there, man. They gave All City a large. Ghetto Metropolis Gold. I ain't mad at that, you know what I mean? But it's crazy. But then, and again, it just, I mean, the articles they had in here, just flipping through this, that this joint right here, they had Black Still in the Outward Chaos. It was on the Brand Nubians reunion coming back together. So again, very dope magazine coming out for, oh man, look at this, All City Athletics with Jay-Z. Like, you know what I mean? You got Jay-Z, you know, out here modeling for All City Athletics. You know what I mean? Go figure. This nigga a billionaire now. Then he out here modeling for All City Athletics. You know what I mean? So
one thing with the ads, to your point, and for those watching who wasn't like a part of that era, like how you point out, like how the ads were almost just as important as all the music stuff in there. It was so important that when the Firm album was coming out, and the Firm put out like that kind of like quick mixtape, but it had the freestyle. Where Nas was, you know, taking shots at, I think he was taking shots at Jay-Z at the time, if not big, probably big. But he said, y'all the worst clowns, like Jamie Foxx with his first down. Y'all remember Jamie Foxx?
Yeah.
Down bubble coat? And I was like, damn, he should know Jamie Foxx coat in a magazine. Like,
matter of fact, JR, is this the Buster cover you was talking about?
That's it.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
Behind the Fire.
That's it.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. I'm just bugging off these ads, man. Like, you know, you got Brand Nubians with an Averex ad. Like, you know, so again, you know, for people watching, you know, and it's funny, Porsche couldn't be on the show, but her being from Vancouver, she would say like she would just see these ads and literally just want to go and buy that outfit because that's all she was able to see. So, you know, oh, yo, y'all remember this? 12 CDs for a penny.
Oh my God! Another Columbia house.
Yes. Yo, man, it's crazy, man. Yo, again, man, this is so much reminiscence. You got Cam in here. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Babyface Cam and everything. So yeah, just dope stuff like that. This is the reason I never mess with Cash Money. These dumbass album covers. Like, this was my least favorite part of any magazine, was seeing these fucking album covers. Like, couldn't stand those things. All right, Vibe. Jen, do you remember the first time you connected with Vibe?
Yes, I believe it was Aaliyah was on the cover of Vibe. Again, I was late to Vibe as well. So like my first one, and I can't quite remember. I think maybe this was maybe 2000 and like right before her passing. When she was on the cover, I guess promoting her album. Am I thinking about the right cover?
You might. I don't remember. I know she had to be on the cover. That's the thing. Like Vibe to me, some of their covers, and we're gonna get into their covers because they had some controversial covers at that time for where we were. But I don't remember the Aaliyah cover. But it might have been.
Yeah, I was not. Yeah, I wrote with the source until like the very end. Everything else, I kind of just, and I felt like Vibe leaned more R&B.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. Yeah, Vibe was like almost in the category of like a Essence and Ebony to me, but just like for music. So
right.
I will say I did not pay too much attention to Vibe until like later on.
Right. Vibe, I was there from the get-go. I remember being in Tower Records in South Street in Philly, and Snoop was on the first cover. It was two alternate covers. It was Snoop and Tretch. And I was just like, yo, yeah, I was just like, I was one of them boys. I read anything about music. Tower Records used to have a magazine that was free that I would read. Like I would just read anything. So I grabbed that, and I just knew it was from Quincy Jones. And the funny thing is doing research for this show, Jen, I was just like you. Like I was like, yeah, Vibe was like the R&B like magazine, but truth be told, they had a lot of huge hip hop articles, and we're gonna go into some of the big interviews that they had. I mean, they had interviews that the source weren't even getting. Pac in jail, you know what I mean? Like they got a lot of big, stuff. But I was just like you, like, oh yeah, Vibe, that was the R&B version of the source. But they kind of played both sides of the fence eventually. JR, what do you remember about Vibe? And
that was my first cover. Remember is the Trash joint. Because I used to, when I saw it, I was like, yo, why you look so angry? Like, you look so mad. like, why are you so mad? I remember Mom having that in the house. And I never forget, did he say Tretch is naughty by nature or nurture or something like that? I remember what it was. And he was in black and he was just looking. And I was like, yo. And from then, it was like my mom had a subscription to Vibe. So we would get that every month. So, and obviously the R&B head that she is, that's why y'all right. It was leaning more towards R&B because it was Quincy. So it was like, that's what he focused on. That was his focus. You know what I mean? But he had, hip hop in there. Like you said, Kid, once we get to it, it's a lot of controversial covers that happen with this and all that kind of stuff. But I remember that my first Vibe cover was seeing Tretch on it.
Right. What about you, Veg, with Vibe?
I think I was the same way. I think I was so focused on being able to get the source on a regular basis that I would see the Vibe, and I like R&B, but it was like, are you getting the source or you getting Vibe?
Right.
It wasn't until they started to, and probably more so when I came to Morgan, when I started to get both. I think the cover that caught my attention, at least early on, was Big and Faith on the cover.
Yeah, in the car, in the backseat of the whip. Yeah.
Because, that was my favorite rapper. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm getting Vibe this.
Right. This month we get Vibe.
Right.
Yeah, that was a dope cover. Jen, you mentioned it. Right on. To me, for me, this was the OG music magazine. The new edition, them 80s years. The new editions, the B Brown, the Albie Shores, all of that stuff. What do you remember about Right On?
Like I was getting ready to say, the boy bands. We have the Boys, the Youngsters, Crisscross. That's where I would get. That was my era for reading Right On. So it was like it had. I'm not gonna say a teeny bopper feel to it, but it was literally a magazine. It encompassed a little bit for everyone.
Right. Same with me. My thing was just New Edition. Like that's when I think Right On, that's where my head goes to, New Edition. Because I've said this before, I knew I was gonna be the fifth member of New Edition. Like I'm not. People think I'm bullshit. Like I'm dead fucking ass serious. When Bob left the group, in my mind, I was like, nigga, I'm next. I know all the fucking dance moves. I can't sing, but neither can Mike. So what the fuck? Like in my mind, I'm like, all right, Mom, fuck school. I'm gonna have to get a tutor because I'm fucking going on the road with New Edition. There's no audition, just somewhere in my mind. I'll never forget. Jen, you said it. I was in Walden Books in Cheltenham Mall reading Right On, and they said Johnny Gill is the new member of New Edition, and I felt deflated. I mean, I was fucking depressed because they had Johnny with this Jerry curl, and I really didn't know about Johnny Gill, and I'm like, who the fuck is this Jerry Curl nigga replacing me. Like, I really thought I was part of the group. I'm like, this nigga replacing me. Who the fuck is this nigga? Like, I didn't even know about the Stacey Ladisall duets and all that. Yo, I was pissed. Like, that ass me, T and Naomi just went to the New Edition show. I could do all the dance steps. Like, if New Edition said, Kill, we need, nigga, I'm there, nigga. I know the moves. So that's my thing with Right On was that.
Bobby
but again,
need you.
Would you say?
Bobby might need you. I saw
it.
Now, yeah.
I am there. If it isn't love comes on, nigga, I am on stage. I think, babe, you said something about Raheem Devon, right? Like Raheem had to just pop up on stage and he did it. Dog, that's me with New Edition. Let if fucking isn't love come on, dog. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. I had the shag too. I even had a fucking shag in my head. I was like, yo, I'm ready to rock, bro. I'm ready to rock. I had a fucking shag, my nigga. I was that committed to the group. You want to talk about committed? You want to talk about commitment, nigga? Fuck 23 years of marriage, nigga. I had a shag so I could be in the fucking group. That's commitment, okay? That is commitment. That's where I was with Right On. But it's funny, doing research for this, I found Right On covers with like Big Daddy Kane on the cover. And I don't remember those. You know what I mean? Because again, like Jim was saying, when I think Right On, I just think New Edition, Albie Shore, Bobby Brown, like that era of music. JR, what about you? Right On. That's right up your alley with R&B.
My first, I remember probably with SWV being on the cover. And
okay.
I remember the cover being SWV. They had intro on the cover.
Ooh.
It was Shy, Criss Cross, if I'm not mistaken. That was like the first Right On magazine that I used to see. And then I would, my mom was like, oh yeah, I used to always get Right On. And she would kind of put me on. That's when I finally learned that Janet and Bobby actually did have something. But yeah, so that Right On magazine, I think the SWV cover was my first Right On joint.
Right. And Right On, Black Beat, Word Up, all of them kind of go hand in hand. They're all over there at the same time. Now, the difference for people watching who may not know, whereas The Source had one cover, Right On was kind of like a collage of stuff. Like, it really just wasn't one person. So when JR is saying it was like 5 different, they had more of a collage cover to get more people, like to pull you in. Like, oh, let's look at all these people on this issue versus The Source, Vibe, XXL, which is now just one person or whatever. Vague, did you rock with Right On and Black Beat and Word Up and all that?
Hell yeah. When Biggie said hanging pictures on my wall, on them posters.
Right.
Like, that was the main reason why you got it. Like, oh, there's a big poster of LL and Michael Jackson with the yellow vest on. Like, it's in there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. For me, I didn't have it because a lot of this stuff I was put on. I was way younger, but I was paying attention and I would read them, and so other people had them. Like my god sisters and god brothers had that stuff. Rest in peace, Ill Will. Same thing. Go to Queensbridge. He got all of it, and it's the internet, right? For me, it's the weekend. Yeah. I'm just looking through that joint. One thing I wanted to point out, like since you mentioned it, about like Right On and Word Up and those covers, that kids gonna have to understand today. No Photoshop, cutouts.
Word.
Everything is a cutout. It's scanned cover. You know what I'm saying? Like real old school. Your yearbooks were made like that at some point back in the days. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't think about that until at my job at WBGO, we found some old clippings from like the 80s, right? But it was all the pieces they did to create the weekly news magazine or whatever it is. So it took me back, and I was like, oh yeah, Word Up was like that, because that's how they didn't Photoshop Bobby Brown at the bottom of the damn magazine. They cut his ass out with photos.
right.
But they didn't filter pictures either or touch the pictures up. There was a with Kim and Foxy, and the makeup is so untouched. I'm like that would never go. It would never fly now.
Right. Some slept on ones. Blaze magazine. Blaze was out there for a hot minute. You know, they tried to get in it. I feel like there's only, I always say there's only one spot, and that was the Source. And sometimes if you're dope enough, you can creep in and be number 2. That's what XXL was. But Blaze tried to come in there, and it was like, nah, bro, like, yeah, nah, like, you know, what's up, babe?
Now remember, like Blaze came out when I was coming to EAA around that time.
Okay,
it was like a offshoot of Vibe.
Really?
So it was supposed to be like the hip hop version of Vibe, right? Okay,
right. So it was there.
Right.
Oh, this is strictly hip hop for y'all. But you're right. It was dope. It just was like, all right, man, we got this, we got that.
Right. Like you ain't creeping in here. A magazine a lot of people don't know about, Big Daddy. It's this magazine out the UK. It's really more of a digging producer magazine. This had a very dope article, R.I.P. Bismarck. Very dope article with Biz in here. That was really dope about him just in Long Island and giving Eric and Parrish a lot of the samples for their first album. Another magazine that I love, not really a magazine, but Wax Poetics. This is more of like a digger magazine. This is really about like interviews with the people that people would sample. And like, I think this issue is the Primo issue. So it was kind of just like, you know, a very dope article with Premiere. But Wax Poetics, for people out there, if you're interested in like learning more about the people who they sampled and things like that, very dope magazine. Shout out to my man Gadget, Illadelph Steak Life, Scratch Mag. This was the producer magazine right here, which was like the tag off of XXL. So this was like, I mean, Kanye was on this cover. You had this one with Premier and Nas. Like, this is when they were talking about doing their collab album. This is from like 2004 that we're never getting a Premier and Nas collab album. And the first one of this was actually this one with Dr. Dre on it right here. So this was like the first joint. So this was like the first official producer type magazine and everything like that. Very, very dope article in here with Knots. Knots is like a fucking alien. I don't even know, that nigga's not from this planet, but very dope article with Knots. Any other slept on magazines we kind of forgot before we dive into deeper topics?
I think you said it earlier. I thought it was slept on, but Rap Pages.
Yeah, Rap Pages was dope. Rap Pages was there before XXL, so it was kind of like the Source's little brother, but still had dope articles. Still had some very dope articles in them. But Rap Pages was there, and Rap Sheets, the newspaper. It was kind of corny because it was an actual newspaper. But hey, I interned for them. I appreciate the hell out of them. They let me put together a conference in DC in '96. So shouts to Rap Sheets. Jim, were you about to say something? You had a mag?
I was going to say Rap Pages, just to kind of piggyback off of that, Rap Pages also was a little bit more West Coast leaning. So that is where I know a lot of people I knew wasn't into it, but that's where I got like a lot of my info on like what was new as far as the West Coast went. So
okay.
What didn't get enough love, or kind of got a little underappreciated depending on where you were. Right.
True indeed. Any other magazines that's not hip hop related? Like for me, growing up, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. If you were a wrestling fan, you got Pro Wrestling Illustrated. That was the source for wrestling heads in the 80s. Like, that was vague. You talk about the posters. Those were the posters of the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, Kerry Von Erich, Kevin Von Erich. I was a big wrestling boy in the 80s. Slam. I love Slam magazine. If you love basketball, hoops, sneakers, love Slam magazine, which I think was part of the Source or owned by the same company or something like that. And then they had Dime magazine, which was kind of the broke Slam, which was put out from XXL. And I love Slam. They would do joints like this. It would be like Slam Presents Kicks, and there would be this Jordans. Or one of my favorite Slam issues is this one, and I don't have the cover, but on the cover was Rayford Alston, who skipped to my Lou, who a lot of people will know from the And One mixtapes. But this was the first time I heard of Rayford when he was at Fresno State. This is from '97, and he was on the cover of the magazine, and it was the first time somebody I had never heard of. I mean, Rayford Alston was like virtually a nobody, unknown. Again, this is before And One, before we knew about all the playground tricks, before he got signed with the Bucks and went to the chip with the Orlando Magic. So definitely love Slam and Dime. Anything else? Any other magazines from any other, not just music, but other magazines y'all remember growing up?
Just the Jet.
Jet. How did I forget Jet? Like the Jet Beauty of the Week. Like I know my moms was pissed because I would rip them shits out every week. You know what I mean? You know, and I know I was like, this nigga every week, nigga. Like, can't you take a month off? But yeah, Jet Beauty of the Week, Ebony.
Me, I would
Essence.
just love going back and looking at the end with the top 20 songs and top 20 albums.
Yeah,
that's when you kind of knew what was the hot joint, and you kind of knew then. So that's why I kind of really went to Jet, and then we already said Vibe and all that, but I know we can get there. So.
Right. Let's talk about the sections. So we got in the source. One of my favorite sections was the unsigned hype.
Obviously.
Jen, talk a little bit about unsigned hype.
Unsigned hype. That's where I would find. That was like finding all your new music. That was. I'm not going to say the SoundCloud, but I don't know where you would go, what the internet equivalent would be now, but that was where I would find like all the new and obscure artists. That's how I found Mobb Deep. They were in an unsigned hype. Just that's how you would, and that's just how you would, it was just a good place to find like I said, new music and what was coming out, who was like up and coming.
Yeah, I mean, the names that were in unsigned hype, big. Like, we could just start and stop with Big. Like, this, for somebody watching who may not understand, Big was in the unsigned hype. Like, that was, getting in the unsigned hype at the source was damn near like, you're one step closer to getting a record deal. Like, record labels would look at unsigned hype, because getting in the unsigned hype, going through Maddie C, who used to run it, was just like trying to get a record deal. So if you were in unsigned hype, basically that was the source, which was the Hip Hop Bible, co-signing you to say you're this dope. Common was in the unsigned hype. Mobb Deep was in the unsigned hype. Big was in the unsigned hype. Mad Skills were. So there's so many MCs that have gone on to have careers in this game. As much as I hate Common in his fucking T-Mobile commercials, I mean, unsigned hype, you know, Mobb Deep, Big. So this was like Jen said, this was our SoundCloud. If you remember, now saying somebody's a SoundCloud rapper is disrespectful. Back in the day, being a SoundCloud rapper meant, yo, your shit is kind of dope. You know what I mean? So unsigned hype was like that. Veg, what do you think about unsigned hype? You remember anybody who I'm definitely leaving out a lot of people, but is there any names that... One of them. Oh, M was in unsigned hype? Okay, right. You know,
Eminem was in that also. Yeah, I just remember before even hearing Big, like no Best of Biggie, no bunch of niggas on Heavy D yet. He was in unsigned hype, and what I liked about unsigned hype the most was sometimes it was like an Easter egg to another place where they appeared in the same magazine, right? Like with Big, he was in unsigned hype, but then you saw the photo of him in the studio with Heavy D making bunch of niggas before it came out. So I was already thinking, because I was a Heavy D fan, so I was gonna buy the album, and I was like, oh, he from around, because he was close to where I lived. So I was like, oh, he from around the way, you know. So I was checking for him. But yeah, unsigned hype was just dope, and you were right. It felt like it just kind of became a dope breeding ground because they were nailing it, right? Like, look at the names you said that were unsigned hype at the time. Shout out to Kel Spencer. He also was unsigned hype at one
word?
Later on, yeah.
Okay.
Even though I think he had a deal already, so you know that's when shit started.
Right. Get shady. But shit, like you said, Vague, they were knocking it out the park. I mean, Maddie C was literally like a damn hip hop A&R. I wonder if he went on to be an A&R, because you would think like if this dude is getting these people, like a label would be like, yo, nigga, come work for us. Right. You know, could you imagine a label signing Big, Mobb Deep, Common, M, you know, if the Source had a record deal at that time, like, dog, you got the all-star lineup now, or whatever like that.
Saigon was there too. I think Saigon was in unsigned hype. So yeah, it was dope.
Yeah. JR, what about you? Any memories of unsigned hype?
I remember when DMX was on it, and they called him DMX the Great.
Oh yeah.
On that, okay. And I remember that, and like y'all said, they got it right, because I mean, shit, look at look at the career, R.I.P. to him, but it's like they got it right then, and you know, so I just remember that DMX being DMX the Great, and you know, and my dad was so on DMX then, so it was like this dude gonna be it. And then when he did that Apollo performance with 4, 3, 2, 1, and the crowd went nuts for him, bigger than everybody else, it was like it's over, he out of here. So yeah.
Another section, of course, the microphone ratings. I'm just looking at this like when I got the source, it was one of those things I would just go to certain places like boom, mic ratings, who's the unsigned hype, and then last but not least, the hip hop quotables. Like every month, there was this quotable in the source of a person's bars, and I mean, it would just be like, "Yo, who got hip hop quotable this month? Who got?" That was one of the things that we would all talk about. Like, and I remember, I think AZ got it for "Life's a Bitch," and I want to say Nas got it. I don't know when Nas got it, but I know it was some hoopla around that one because it was like, yeah, look, AZ got it before Nas got the hip hop quotable or whatever like that. But it was very important to see who got that cool. Like that meant something. Like that was like earning your stripes. That's like going, you know, in the military, like you done bossed up another level or something like that. That's bragging rights to be like, yo, nigga, I, you know, hip hop quotable in the source, nigga. Like check my resume, nigga. Like, you know what I mean? Like it meant that much. Jen, any hip hop quotables you remember? Or anything?
None that I remember, but I do remember that it being that was a stamp. If you had a quotable, it also was a way if you didn't have access to the music like myself, you could kind of, that was a testing or kind of, that was another way, quote unquote, to listen. But yeah, that was a stamp. It was a way to say, you know how to rap, like you know how to, you got your words together.
Right. Vague, what about you? Any hip hop quotables you remember?
Off the top, I know. Well, one was Nas' verbal intercourse verse.
Yeah.
That was in there. And that was another thing that was like hyped before I even heard it. So it kind of got you ready. And I think a Cannabis verse, but I can't remember which one it was.
Okay.
But I just remember like hip hop quotables, just like you said, being a stamp, but also giving you a look at the technique, you know what I'm saying, of the verse, right? Because it's one thing to hear it, you know, you got to keep up with it. Maybe the beat is distracting, you know, but if you can sit there and read it, you get a greater appreciation for what's being said and the rhyming style and the technique that it took. So that's what cats don't understand, man. We had to read that joint, be like, oh yeah, this is next level, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it was being said, or it was next level.
Yeah, and I think, Vague, that's such a great point because we did a show about lyrics or something. It was like there are songs I've heard for years, but having to sit there and really read the lyrics, you know, like it hit different, you know. And again, Naomi's always schooling me like, Daddy, how don't you know the name of songs? Just go to Apple and hit this button and all that. We ain't have all that shit. Lyrics just didn't pop up on our phones. Like, you know what I mean? The average, even with the liner notes, the average person wasn't giving you all their lyrics right there in the liner notes. So a lot of lyrics we still mess up to this day, you know what I mean? And different things like that. So like you said, being able, I think we did the show and we were talking about Common's Retrospect for Life. And it's one of my favorite songs, but sitting there reading it versus just hearing it, it's like it made the song hit even that much harder for me. You know what I mean? And like you said, it's like with hip hop quotables, you're able to sit there and read it. And like you said, a lot of times it may have been before you even heard the rhyme, before you heard the song, you know, which made it hit even harder on that front. Any other sections I'm leaving out from the source that y'all remember offhand that was dope?
Okay. It's probably not appropriate now, and it would not fly in this day and age. But Star and Buckwild, their little.
Oh wow! I forgot about Star and Buck. Yo, good pull, Jen.
I no way.
Good pull.
It would be canceled, yo.
Yeah.
I don't endorse either of them, but it was very popular in the source. That was at towards
Star and Buck in the source was something. Yeah, that's a good pull. I forgot about that. I forgot about that, John. What you gonna say, Bag?
I was gonna say, Boondocks. You know,
yep. The Boondocks used to be
where the
Source.
Boondocks came from, the Source magazine.
Yep.
It was a nice variety to be like, oh, there's a cartoon here, and it's kind of urban and shit, and it's, you know, urban and all of that. So I like that. Also, like when they did, even though this was more like a special issue, when they did like the Power Players in the Year in Review episodes, editions. I really like those because it was kind of like confirmation of all the arguments you would be having.
Right.
Yeah, like, yo, I told you such and such had the best album. The Source said it, that's it. So yeah, it was just like you said, Kill. It gave us a greater appreciation for the information and all the work they did to gather it each month. Even though certain regions of the country, and I get it, felt it was a little biased, especially the South, which I think they had their own magazine, at least in the late 90s. I just can't remember the name of it. But at the end of the day, stuff like that, the Boondocks, there's another section they had that I like. I can't remember what it was.
Yo, it's crazy because I'm just flipping through here now, and I mean, again, just look at the ads, like for the cell phones. Like this is what was going on at the time. You know what I mean? Like, and these were like cutting edge technology. You know, we had the boot ads. You know, and just,
they had the Virgin mobile phone in that joint.
Yeah, they had the Virgin mobile phone in here. I mean, you know, we talking about the unsigned hype. There's right there, some boy Young Dre and the unsigned hype. Like that was something huge. Funny, they used to have the hip hop crossword puzzle. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They had the last page. What I used to love this too, the last word, where they always had the cartoon joint.
Ooh, that's what I'm thinking
at
of.
The end.
That's it. Yeah.
A short interview at the end of theirs, like maybe 4 or 5 questions with somebody, and it would always be like the last. I like that little quick interview.
Right. Or then just so many funny things. You had the ads for all the fake ice and everything up in here. Right. You got the fake. You don't change. You know, Veg. Y'all already know how much I talk about Beat Street Records. You know what I'm saying? So just again, so many dope memories, man. Just reading this joint. All right, let's talk.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, and this might be video game magazines for back then because that was another thing I bought. But wasn't there like a comment section, something like that?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
for readers.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. That was dope too. And again, like this issue was the Pete Rock. And keep in mind, like again, for people like we didn't get to see people like Pete Rock like this, like you know, on the MPC and stuff like that. Like now, y'all can just go on YouTube, search Pete Rock. Y'all see all this. We didn't have stuff like that, you know, because these magazines were for the rappers, which is why Scratch was so big for us producers, because we didn't see stuff like that. Let's talk a little bit about Vibe, man. One of my favorite sections in Vibe was Next, which was almost the equivalent of, not I don't want to say unsigned hype, but just who had next. You know, great example. The first time I saw Dilla was in Vibe under the Next section. It was a picture of him, Q-Tip, and Ali. And at first, I thought it was Fife. You just see this dark-skinned cat with a hat on, but they were talking about the Uma. You know what I mean? And that's the first time I heard Dilla, you know, was about that. So that was dope. They used to also have this thing called Sound. What was it called? Sound something with Bobbito. And Bobbito would play songs for random people. So Kobe was in the issue once. And he would just play Kobe like certain songs. He played Public Enemy. He may play some, you know, some jazz or something like that. And Bob would just sit there and chop it up with you about that. And then they had a lot of dope controversial covers at the time. TLC, they had a joint called like Burn the House Down or something with TLC. Right, with the firefighter joints on after, of course, Left Eye Burnt Down Old Boy's House. You know, and then when you opened it up, this is controversial at the time. It ain't shit now, but they had their fingers covering their nipples. You know what I mean? Her and Chili did. You know what I mean? Like, which was crazy back in like 95. Like that shit was crazy. They had the Toni Braxton issue when Toni straight had her nipples out and she just had a clear joint on and the nipples was out. Like that shit was, I remember my pop asking about that issue. I'm like, God damn, nigga, like now you paying attention, nigga. Like, yo, word is born. I swear to God on my soul, my uncle had the picture of Tony Braxton framed in his fucking house. Swear to God. Like, that's how he had this shit framed in his house. Like, no lie. You had the Pac cover when he was in a straitjacket, and it was like, it's Tupac crazy. You know what I mean? So I don't know if, because Bob got a lot of dope articles with Pac, and I know Pac was dating Quincy's daughter, so maybe that was the connecting dots or whatever, because you had the Pac Is He Crazy, you had the Pac, you know, when he was in jail with the glasses on saying Thug Life is dead. You know, Bob used to always get a lot of those big Pac articles. You know, also they were the ones with the whole East Coast West Coast cover, you know what I mean, which we all know how that played into everything with the East Coast, West Coast. One of the things about Vibe, and I can't remember who wrote it, but again, this is another article that literally changed my life. Someone did an article on Puff called "This Is Not a Puff Piece." Then this is Puff, like, this is before Bad Boy took off. So this is before Ready to Die. So it's had to be like, yeah, it's like 93, 94. And it's Vegas, a Friday night. And I'm in the crib listening to Strictly Hip Hop, and I'm reading a story, and they're like, yo, Puff would, you know, leave Howard, jump on the train, go to New York, intern, catch the train back and all that. And I read the article and I was so hyped. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Because I was trying to get an internship at 889, and they said, well, Kill, you can't get it. You don't have this class called practicum yet. You got to wait. Now, at that time at Morgan, shit, Strictly Hip Hop was the best internship you could fucking get. You're on the radio. Like, there's nothing doper than that. And I just, after reading that Puff article, I was like, yo, this dude is sneaking on trains every weekend to go from Howard to New York to throw parties. Fuck that. And I literally walked to the radio station, knocked on the door like, yo, my name Kill. Yo, I go to Morgan. I just want to get down with the show. Like, whatever y'all need, I'll intern, whatever. The niggas let me in, and then 3 months later, I was the host. You know what I mean? And it all came from reading that Puff article, like, dead ass. If that article wouldn't have been there, who knows if I even go to 889? Because I was just like, yo, if this dude can do all of this, you bouncing back and forth from Howard to, you know, I remember thinking vague. I lived off campus. I ain't have no car. I'm like, man, ain't nobody walking no 20 minutes at night, you know, at midnight through Baltimore, you know. But I was like, yo, fuck it. And that's how I got on. So definitely a big fan of Vibe. XXL, I think one of the biggest things I remember from them is the freshman covers. You know, there was a time when those covers meant something. Now I don't know nobody on them. I don't know nobody. I'm lost. But what about y'all? Did y'all dig the freshman covers? And
yeah, I definitely did. I think back then, because the source when Big died, which wasn't that long after Pac died, and they did that one cover with like the new generation or whatever, and it had like, you know, Pun and Cannabis and Cam and Silk the Shocker. Like it was a couple stories, like it was a couple of them that were a part of that, and that was kind of like a freshman cover without it being that. But then when XXL took it to a different level, because they got a lot of dope people who they kind of hit the nail on the head. But this is early 2000s into the 2010s. I think when it really got bad was like probably after 2015, 2016, where it'd be like one or two, because like Anderson .Paak was on like 2018, right, like that. So they still spot certain dudes, but now they've got to the point where it's like the BET Cypher, right?
Right.
Kind of like we have it, but when you watch it, you're like, yo, nobody can rap. Like it's trash. So, real quick with Vibe, one thing I think we didn't point out, or just didn't realize, they had some dope covers also. I think for me, I like Vibe's articles better, and I don't know if it was because I was in college, but I felt like I was getting a little bit more from those articles than like the source.
Right.
But the Vibe logo would change colors on different covers, you know, and even styles. Like the Juvenile joint, it's in the style of like bling bling and all of that. So I thought that was dope because it wasn't just the image that they took, it was what they did with the logo also. That made them stand out, especially once they started adding hip hop. So.
Right. You were about to say something, Jen?
No, I was just gonna say they had better. I will say they had better articles. The death row issue I think about a lot.
The all black with all them on the cover. Yep.
Right.
That was a good article, or they have like the best like type of in-depth articles. So when I was looking for like more insight on a situation, maybe something I had read in the source or heard about, Vibe kind of fleshed it out a little bit more in their articles.
Right. I'm looking just through the scratch, and again, it's just these ads. This was letting you know Alchemist is dropping September 7th. AZ is dropping, in September. Like, this is how we got. We again, right. There's no Twitter, there's no IG. I'm like thumbing through here. It's like, yo, for scratch, it was like, yo, what's the best headphones to get? Like, of course, now you just go to YouTube, but before there was YouTube, this was where you would find out about your equipment and everything like that. Another thing I loved about XXL, I don't know if you guys remember that they used to have a small section called Classic Material. And it was written by Brian Coleman, which went on to write Rakim Told Me in the Check the Technique book. So it was a small article, and it would just be like with special ed, maybe talking about how they made Youngest in Charge. You know what I mean? And again, those articles went on to go into Brian Coleman's Check the Technique series. So for people out there who want very dope stories on the makings of all the golden era classic albums. I mean, everything from EPMD, Ultramagnetic, Criminal Minded, going up to, I think they even got up to, what was Q's third album, Veg? What was his third album?
Predator.
One before that. Lethal, no. It's American Most Wanted. Death Certificate. Like, it's all about the making of Death Certificate, Cool G Rap's second album, just great stuff. So if you're definitely into that, check that out. Now, let's talk about some of these mic ratings with the source. Number one, everybody, we're all on Twitter. So we see how everything is a classic 2 minutes before it comes out. Mm-hmm. I want some of the younger people to understand why everything to us and why us old heads are offended by that. I'm going to go through some albums, and I want you guys to tell me what you think the source gave. Gangstar's Hard to Earn. How many mics do you think the source gave Hard to Earn? 4.
3.
What you got, Jen?
I'm thinking 3 to 4. 3.5.
They gave it a 4. They gave it a 4. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, to me, Hard to Earn is a classic album. So I'm showing folk at home that like everything just wasn't a classic. And guess what? Them getting a 4, they were okay.
Right.
Nobody was offended. It was like, hey, if we can get a 4, we're good. Mm-hmm. Now I say something is a cover,
right?
Yeah, and they had the cover. We're gonna get into some of our favorite issues. That's one of my favorite issues of the source, the one with Gangstar on the Train, because it's also the issue that talked about Nas's Illmatic. But yeah, so on the cover they got a 4, and you were happy with a 4. Daily Operation. How many mics do y'all think the source gave Gangstar's Daily Operation, which I believe is a 5 mic album?
You already know. That's my favorite joint. I don't even.
I give it a 4, but I think they gave it a 3.5.
That's what I think, a 3.5.
They probably gave it a 3.5. Please
3.5. Y'all are good. We taking this shit on the road, goddamn it. On the road.
Because I think it's a 5 too, but I'm like, I don't think Source gave it a 5. Like, nah.
And the grading, it was a harder.
It was learning. Hard, yes.
Right. But again, this is why I want the younger folk to know why we get so mad when shit just ain't a classic out the gate. You know what I'm saying? And why it should be okay that you get a 4. The Chronic. How many mics do you think they gave The Chronic? Which to some people is the greatest West Coast album of all time.
The Chronic did not get 5 mics.
It did not. Didn't they have to redo it and give it a 5 mic or something?
They went back. They went back and corrected some things.
They gave that joint a 3. Probably.
I think a 3.5.
I'm gonna say 4.
4. I'm just trying to remember that place and time. How did people really feel about it?
I think a 3.
Because I tell folks, nostalgia is not the same as
when you were there.
That's right.
I say 3.5.
They gave it a 4.5. They gave it 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah. They gave it 4.5. Okay. But again,
Respecting that was a
Right, but for people again watching, this is why when you just call the newest whatever rapper from Buffalo y'all like this month album a classic, we just gave fucking The Chronic 4.5. Like, this is why, because we came up in an era where everything just didn't get 5 mics. It just didn't. It just did not happen like that. Reasonable Doubt. How many mics you think they gave Jay's Reasonable Doubt?
3.5 to 4.
I think Jay got 4. This is 96.
Yeah, 96.
I think 4.
4.
4 mics.
Okay.
Got 4. Jizz's Liquid Swords. Which again, 5 mic album for most people. What do we hear all the time on the timeline? What's better? Liquid Swords only built for Cuban links.
Right.
So this is what many consider to be one of the greatest Wu albums ever. How many mics do y'all think it got from the source?
It better be 4.5 at least.
Or at least.
It better be a 4, but I'm like,
I know, because folks wanted to hear Built Only for Cuban Links 2 from out of Wu-Tang, and this came right after it. So I don't know. But it better be a 4.
right.
They got 4. They got a 4.
all right.
They got a 4. They got a 4. They got a 4. But again, just reiterating, everything doesn't have to be a classic. And again, now here's the other thing that we didn't really touch on. I'll put a pin in this for a second. There were some source beatdowns, okay? Because these mic ratings were so important that if you got like a 3, niggas was coming to pay a visit to the source building. There was a while, I know with Vibe, a lot of record labels had to get the Fruit of Islam up in here, the FOI, to do security for a while because people were, if we all saw Straight Outta Compton, you saw Al Cuban in the record label with the baseball bat breaking shit. Niggas was coming to the source to pay you a visit because those mic ratings really meant a lot. Like the source was the stamp. We talked about the hip hop quotable being a stamp. These mic ratings was a stamp. If you gave something a fucked up rating, you may get paid a visit. We're gonna go into some of their worst ratings in a minute too.
Vibe used to do that shit too with the damn, with the obviously the ABC or whatever.
Right.
But some motherfuckers got C's and went up to that mug and was like, nah.
Right. So these were some. This ain't no social media where niggas can't touch you. Niggas was coming to your job. Like, all right, let's do this. Purple Tape. How many mics?
Better got a 4.
It better 5.
I say 5.
All right, Vegas and JR say 5. What you say, Jen?
Did it get 4.5?
4.5.
4.5.
Got 4.5.
All right.
Got 4.5.
Yes, look how hard it was to get a 5. Like they was, a 5. If 5 was hard.
This is what I'm talking about. This is the era that we were raised in, where you just didn't give out a 5 like that. Like you don't get to run a fucking Boston every time you play spades. That shit may come once a fucking decade. Like, so again, but for these young boys, it's just, it's a classic. It's a classic. 5 mics. No, nigga, it don't work like that. Again, that's just not how we were raised. So again, this is why we get so in our feelings. Like, yo, how you just giving that 5 mics, dog? Like fucking Cuban Links ain't get 5 mics, my nigga. Like, the fuck? What you gonna say, back?
I was gonna say, well, first, big shout out to Tony for Into the Dome. We used to do a podcast called That Time in Hip Hop. We covered like the rise and fall of the source, but we also did like the mystique of Illmatic and how the source helped build the legend that was Illmatic before we even heard it, right? Like you said. And what makes that even more unique, it was a rookie getting 5 mics, and I think Ice Cube was the only one to have a debuted album get 5 mics in the source. Yeah. And to your point, Kill, that was like, oh, well, this is the chosen one. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't can those out. Like Run DMC got one. It was light on who had 5 mics. So yeah, like you said, you look at all these albums now, all these albums you naming, we like 5, 5, 5, but it's like back then.
Nigga, some people getting 3.5s. Like, so all right, The Infamous.
Oh man, I remember this. I could see it, and I think it's trash. Oh
I
man.
think they got a 3.5.
I think a 3.5.
I think they got a 3.5.
No, they actually got a 4.5. They got 4.5.
What?
They got
Oh,
4.5.
wow.
You remember that half mic? You remember seeing that half mic next
Right.
to
Well, I mean, one of my favorite big boy lines. What do you say? We gotta go see the source. We need that other half of Mike for Southern Playalistics. Like, yo, we need that other half of Mike, y'all. Like, come on, man. That 4.5 wasn't there.
Yo.
Yeah, you know what I mean. All right, ready to fucking die.
He didn't get no 5 mics. I know that.
Definitely get 5.
5.
I think he got a 4 or a 3.5 to 4.
What you got, Jen?
I would love to give it 5.
Ooh, I got 3.5. No,
They gave it a 4. They gave it a 4.5.
Damn, really?
Yeah,
Really?
They gave it a 4.5. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now here's one, because I know people say this all the time. If it's not Chronic, if it's not Built for Cuban Links versus Jizza, it's always Doggy Style versus Chronic with the Snoops Doggy Style, which I have friends who say Doggy Style is the greatest hip hop album ever made. I don't agree with it. I'm not mad at that statement. I'm not mad at it. I love Doggy Style. But what do you think the source gave Doggy Style?
I think they got a 4.
Yeah, me too.
A 4. I give it a 4.
Yeah, we going on game shows, y'all. We might as well take this shit on the road. They got a 4. Which again, I we're just trying to show this was how hard it was to get 5 mics. Now, keeping in mind that you also have to understand that these are the days that if you worked for a label, if you did radio or did things like that, you'd get the advanced copy. So this isn't just how y'all pop on some shit at midnight on Friday night, and by the time you wake up to go to work on Monday, it's 5 mics. These people have been listening to this shit for weeks.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
They live with it.
Kim Arcerio, who worked at the source, I was watching the YouTube thing with her preparing for this show, and she was saying how, we all, like, not really one person may have wrote the article reviewing it, but everybody chimed in on the mic rating of it. Right. You know what I mean? So again, this isn't this spur of the moment, emotional, it dropped at midnight, by 2 a.m, it's 5. This is over weeks that people have listened to this, and they're still giving Doggy Style, which could be one of the greatest albums of all time, 4 mics. Mm-hmm. So again, I'm just trying to show you where we're coming from. Things that they got wrong. The first time that I was like literally pissed with the source and ready to boycott it, what do you think they gave The Shining? If you know me, Smith & Wesson's The Shining is one of my favorite hip-hop albums ever. I'm the only person on the planet Earth who will take The Shining over The Infamous. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. Yeah, that's how much I love The Shining. How many mics do you think they gave The Shining?
3.5.
3.5.
I say 3.
3.
Yep.
They gave The Shining 3.
They gave The Shining 3 mics.
I figured they would.
My man Kel, we were in fucking TV production class, Vague, and Kel came in class, gave me the source. I'm like, 3? Yo, bro, it was like, we didn't even give a fuck about class. It's like, fuck this class, man. Look, like, it literally was the first time that I went and looked at who wrote this shit. Like, and
I remember you talking about this on the episode.
Anything that this motherfucker ever writes again, because you don't know shit. He was dissing the beats. He was like, the beats are just cloudy, and I'm like, yo, what the? That was literally the first time that I looked at the source and I was disgusted with how this happened. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't have been shocked if the boot camp didn't pay them a visit from that kind of mic rating right there, because there were people. Again, the source wasn't just for us heads. Everybody was reading the source. So there were people, that's not going to stop none of us from going to buy Smith & Wesson, but it could have stopped a lot of people from going to buy it, which is why the mic ratings was so important. You know, if they weren't important, why am I fuck you up and can't take the chance of getting a charge if it ain't even that important? That's how important it was, because you playing with my money, because somebody may not go buy my album because you rated it so low. You know what I mean? What do y'all think they gave Group Home's Living Proof?
I think that got a higher rating than The Shining, which is blasphemous.
What y'all got?
Four?
I
JR?
I think a I'm gonna say 3.5.
Jen?
put JR 3.5.
3.5. You know what I mean? So like Vague said, over The Shining, but this could be Premier's greatest work. I know Dap and Malachi aren't the best rappers, but come the fuck on, y'all. 3.5? 3.5?
This shine.
Again, I wouldn't be mad if the Gangstar Foundation went and paid the Source a visit for that 3.5. Vague, Living Proof to me was so dope. They sent us the vinyl. We just put the record player on and just let it play. We ain't even mixed the shit. We just put the needle down and say, go ahead. Just go ahead and enjoy that album, everybody in Baltimore. You know,
right?
Drinks on us for the rest of the night. We ain't even mixing this shit. We just gonna play the whole goddamn thing. And y'all gave it a 3.5. I think one of the things that they really, when Little Kim's The Naked Truth got 5 mics, I think that's when
bullshit.
Everything went out the window with that one. I think that was one that they got very wrong. I to be honest with you, and I could be wrong because I never even heard the album. You know what I mean? I just don't believe it was 5 mics. Do y'all remember The Naked Truth or anything about it?
Was I on Strictly? I was up there. I just don't remember if I was on. I might have been off as host, but nah, man, because it was a much higher rating than Hardcore, and Hardcore is way better.
Way better than that. Yes. Yeah.
I think that I didn't listen to the album, but I think that's why I felt it was because I'm like none of her other albums, which I'm sure were better,
Right.
didn't get the same type of rating.
Right. And then from the video I was watching with Kim Osirio, she was saying that they actually had the writers walk out because they walked in and Bazzino's group Made Men got 4.5 mics. And he said that they just was like, they were like, nah. And like writers literally walked out of the job. And again, everybody watching, that's for 4.5 mics. They ain't even give the shit 5 mics. You know what I mean? So again, it just goes back to say, this is why we can't just throw the word classic at everything. What you got, Veg?
I was going to say that also speaks to the integrity of the time as it relates to the art, right? Because not only the writers, but we know, reading the Source for so many years, you saw Made Men in those
ads all the time. Probably
all
never heard a song,
right?
Saw an ad.
They were always in there, but never did they ever, or anything they put out, even when we saw the videos, never did it ever come close to being something where it stood shoulder to shoulder with half the albums that did get 5 mics or even 4.5. So it was shady.
Right. So that's some of the stuff they got wrong. Let's talk about albums that did get 5 mics. Tribes, Peoples, Instinctives, Travels, and Paths of Rhythm. I actually disagree with that. I believe it's a strong 4 mic album. I really like it, but it's a strong 4. Didn't feel like it was 5, JR.
It was not a 5. I get that joint like a 3.5.
Oh damn, I thought I was being good with 4. Jen, what about you?
To say that too, the 4 felt a little generous. I was giving it a 3.5.
Right,
For me, it's not this. I'm just making jokes and shit. Y'all know.
You know what? Hold on, Jen. Great point with nostalgia. I'll give it a 3.5 because when it came out, like I'm thinking back at it now, and I'm thinking of the remixes. I'm thinking of the Can I Kick It remix. I'm thinking when it first came out, I'd give it because I wasn't a Tribe fan at first. I was like, that cool. This is cool, But when I heard Low End, and then I was like, okay, I'm a fan. Bonita, because I'm thinking else. I left my wallet in El Segundo. I was like, yo, what the fuck are they even talking about? Like, did they really leave a wallet? What the fuck is going on? I'm confused. Then of course Bonita dropped, and Bonita was, a monster hit. But I'd give it a 3.5. I'm sorry, babe. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, well, I was saying that. Just off of what you just said, I saw the videos first, so I already knew. But my brother says the same shit about El Segundo. Like, I always feel like I was a little nigga because I'm like, I like that because I saw the video.
Right. I'm like, what the fuck? Did you leave your wallet? Is there a fucking wallet?
Right.
Something else? Is the wallet something else than what it's supposed to be? You know me, I'm still in my Jim Browski mode. I'm like, all right, y'all, okay, Jim Browski was a dick. Okay, is the wallet something going on? Like, is this now it's just a wallet? Okay, cool.
Aaron don't understand by a Tribe.
Right, there you go. I didn't know. America's Most Wanted got 5 mics. I'm sorry. What you say?
Wait,
No, what'd you say?
No, I was saying the I just kind of looked at that album the same way you did, right? Like, but more so, like for me, like with Gangstar, I don't even recognize that first album.
Yo, they be like, oh, I don't know what the fuck you talking about. No more Mr. What? What's that?
Right, like
Seven
Step in the
Arena.
Arena.
Right.
So that's how I feel with that. I don't even know the title. Every time my brother says it, I'm like, what was the sentence?
Yo, bro, the funny thing, that's the first time I've ever said the whole title. I usually just say People's Instinctives.
Yeah, I mean, like
I've never said, I'm like, People's Instinctives of Travels and Paths of Rhythm. Who would have known? Because it stops at People's Instinctives. That was the whole title. America's Most Wanted got 5 mics. I agree with that. Love Cube's debut.
Agreed.
Got no beef with that. Here's another one I don't agree with. Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em. Eric B. and Rakim. Solid album.
I don't either. No.
I'll give it a strong 3 and a pie. I may give it a 3.5 to 4, but not 5 mic. I mean, I felt like this is almost like, and when you playing ball and the referee give a makeup call, like shit, we dropped the ball on paid in full and fouled the leader. Like, we gonna make it up with this one because Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em to me is not a 5 mic album. You know what I mean? So what do y'all think?
Oh no,
that's a 3.5.
3 and a pie.
That's one of them early kids. That's one of them early skippables where you like, damn, I'm skipping everything. Like, all right,
yeah. Now Mahogany was the shit. Mahogany was the shit.
Yeah. That wasn't the gas.
And the Ghetto, the remix. I love
Ghetto,
the Ghetto, the remix was
they got a remix?
Yeah, the remix to me is much better than the original. With the video version.
The video version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the video version was the remix. Okay. Totally agree with this. One for all brand Nubians, 5 mics all day long.
Oh, absolutely.
All day long for me. Here's some controversy. I agree with this. A lot of people may not. De La Soul is Dead. Got 5 mics.
Ooh, I just had an argument with somebody.
JR, you said you was just beefing with somebody over this?
Yes, because it's the dude that Will Wade, the one that watched the De La Soul episode.
Right.
And he loved 3 Feet High and Rise, and he was like, yo, this joint. He was like, we got to De La Soul today. He was like, this was so disappointing. He was like, what happened? He was like, what is this? So for them to give them 5, you said it 5, right? They gave him 5?
Yeah, they gave him 5.
Nah. I guess I'd have gave that for me, a 3.5.
Wow. Okay. What about you, babe?
I'm the same way. I don't know if I'll go 3. No, I might be with JR because I remember I was a big fan of the first album. Played it to death. And when they kind of shunned all of it, I was like, but why? Like, you know what I'm saying? And
y'all in the pocket.
Don't get me wrong. There's some joints on there. Saturdays, all of that.
Saturday is the joint.
Right? Yes. Ring, ring, ring. I love them.
Yes. Yep.
But I just didn't hear what the source heard. And I've listened to the shit for years. And I'm like, I can't find it, y'all. So whatever's there, it ain't me. So yeah.
What about you, babe?
I'm a 3.5. It was the same thing. 3 Feet High and Rising, and then that I didn't get 5 mics from it.
Nah,
I totally feel. I feel you. I think it's one of those personal albums to me. This is the summer I was like living on my own. I ran away from home and was kind of just out there. You know what I mean? So I think it's just yeah, dog. Like I literally left home for a whole for 3 months. I was like couch hopping in high school.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like that ass. So I think it was just that summer, for me. So I think that was just the soundtrack. So I think that's what it was for me. So again, this is why I always tell people memories and where you were in life can make an album be something more for you than what it was for somebody else. Totally agree with this. Low end theory, 5 mics.
Yeah, better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, a no-brainer. Illmatic, 5 mics.
Absolutely.
Controversy. Life After Death.
They gave that a 5?
They gave it 5 mics.
Oh no, no sir.
I'm at a 4 and a pass. Veg, what you got?
I'm at a 5.
Okay.
For
I'm not
double-
mad. I'm not mad at the 5. I'm not mad at the 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm not mad at 4.5 because I get it. There's certain joints, people like Nasty Girl. There's people who won't fuck with that stuff. Even though I like the original where they had the vanity, actually had the vanity beat to it, but that never came out. But for a double album where rappers didn't really do double albums, and Big did
It's
all
definitely
these
the best
different-
double album in my opinion.
Yeah, he did all these different things.
Right.
on there. Like you
Yeah.
had the kick in the door, you had I Love the Dough, you had storytelling. One thing I liked when we talked about this in another episode, but I didn't really get to say it. I finally felt like with Missing You and all that, Big was actually talking about something like real.
Right.
Like I felt,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I felt that. So I felt like overall the timing, yeah, he passed away, but I just looked at what he did and I was like, damn, this is almost like somebody's whole career. Some cats got to grow into a lot of this content, whereas he has it all on. So I could see it being 5 mics. If it's 4.5, I'm not mad at that either.
Right. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this age for us. You know what I mean? Like somebody hit me on Twitter and was like, yo, Kill, I know you got something to say about this shorty. She said Jay-Z, her GOAT MC. I'm like, well, nigga, he my number 2. Like it's nothing. I'm not gonna argue with you over over one spot. Like, yo, she say Big, Jay Big, okay, whatever. You know, same thing. So, and I'm just like you, Veg. I'm just the flip of, I'm not mad at anybody who says it's a 5 because I do think it's the best hip hop double album. You know what I mean? And some of the songs don't talk to me, but hey, you know, again, Veg, you were in the clubs. I wasn't. Now, I'm sure Nasty Girl's in the club on the right night. Fucking, you got some good ass memories to that shit. So, you know, I also know a club will help you enjoy an album that much better. So, definitely not mad at that. What were you gonna give it, Jen? What do you give Life After Death?
A 5 as well. That was like some of the best storytelling that I've heard on Downfall. Goodness, I can't think of the name of the song right now, but it's about Arizona Ron. All of that, like
shit, niggas bleed, man.
Oh yes,
niggas bleed, man.
The best storytelling. It was an introspective album. It had everything, and then it was a double. And even if he was still like a lot, like I think my opinion would never change in that album. It was like felt like he went deep.
Now y'all got me ready to make it a 5. Shit, man.
You ain't never lied. You ain't never lied.
I'm about to make it a 5 now because, like, goddamn, I guess you're right, man.
Broke
like,
it down, it makes sense. Like, yeah. I want to give it.
Look, like you said with the Bone Thugs thing, right? That was on there, and then even though at the time it felt like some people was like, because of LL making Going Back to Cali, they didn't like it. But what Easy Mo Beat did with that fucking beat is crazy. Like, I don't know. It was just it was a lot there. So.
Yeah, it may, and I know a lot of people looked at this. Oh, he just got the 5 because he died. You know what I mean? But you know, again, even me giving it a 4.5 all these years, I never felt like it was one of those. Oh, he died. Let's just give him 5 for the fuck of it. Like you said, Jen, I mean, My Downfall, Long Kiss Goodnight, those may be 2 of my favorite Big songs right there between the both of them. And then they coming back to back. It was like, God damn, nigga, you hitting us like this right after this. And the first time I heard 10 Crack Commandments, I'm like, yo, this motherfucker's telling you how to sell crack.
And it was so much experimentation too with his style. With it, like I said, this album had everything. Like,
all right, Joe. All right.
Just fucking throw it a 5. We give it a 5.
It gets a 5. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the game show Apartment 5B. We the ones who we get on Family Feud. It's the 4 of us going. Because these 2 gonna convince the motherfucking Steve Harvey survey was wrong. Like, Steve, what the fuck? Come on, Steve. Right. Yeah, but these are all great points, man. And like you said, Veg, I don't think I really took the time to really think like, yo, like, on like sky's the limit. Like this nigga's like opening up, like on some shit. Like, yo, like, yeah. All right, so we done got, me and JR done got tricked into a 5, so we good over there with that.
Yeah.
Aquemini got a 5. Y'all know I love Aquemini, so that's 5 mics for me.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah.
Meg, what about you?
Initially, I didn't hear it because I was already kind of becoming, after ATLians, I was like officially like, okay, I like Outkast. But I started to wonder, like, are they just trying to make up for things because of albums they missed? I think this was around the time they did the albums getting 5 mics and stuff. But then when I heard it, when I heard Return of the Gangsta, I was like, oh, I hear it now. I see what they did. I get it.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with it though.
Yeah. Jay-Z, The Blueprint.
Yes.
I'm good with 5.
Yes. I'm good with 5.
Hola, Obi. No.
All right.
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. I hate that song. I hate that In the Trackmaster song.
What was it?
And you gave me
God,
a 5 after another and all that shit.
What happened?
He giving that over, Obi though. But then we get to,
I think I started skipping quickly with that joint. Like, I like The Ruler's Back when I first heard it. Now I just be like, get them horns out of here. Like, I don't want to hear that. Where's H to the Izzo?
Oh, Jigga That Nigga. That was the Trackmaster's joint.
Yeah.
I ain't fuck with that.
You ain't fuck with that. Yeah.
I personally didn't. But I mean, I still get the album a 5 though. I still got a 5 on it because it brought me back to Jay-Z. I like dipped for a minute, like But my man Jay sent me like, yo, nigga, go buy this Blueprint right the fuck now. And like Jen, I went to like Rockville to like Barnes and Nobles or some shit where like CDs are like $18.99. Like you go to them bookstores, them shits don't be on sale. And my man they said copy, so I literally copped this from like a $20 CD. And I mean. There are just some songs that even if I don't like it, like the songs I love on here are so good that I don't even remember, I mean, just everything. I mean, Never Change, Song Cry, All I Need, like Renegade, Blueprint, Heart of the City. Like, it was just like, God damn, you don't know. Like, this shit was just crazy to me. Yeah. Now here's one I don't agree with. Stillmatic got 5 mics. I'm probably a good 4 on Stillmatic. Maybe even a 4 in the pass on Stillmatic. But I don't get classic from Stillmatic for me personally. What y'all got?
5?
Yeah, they gave it a 5.
I look at it in a lot of ways. Even though I said the Blueprint gets a 5, that's the nostalgia in me saying that was a monumental album for the time. So was Stillmatic. When I came to NY when that dropped, that's all I heard. One mic, Rewind. I heard Got Yourself a Gun. Like I heard all them joints, and it has that one joint where you like Braveheart Party. Oh, skip with Mary on it too. Right. I was like, Mary on here.
That's why Mary was like, yo, take that off. She was like, she didn't even like it. Like, no. Like, nah, B.
I'm with you, Kill. I used to say, but I don't think Stillmatic is a classic. I think it was just a classic moment.
Right. It was a classic comeback. To me, it was one of those, like, Nas is dead in the world. I mean, I give it a 4 in the pass. Like, but, I personally just don't see classic, like, Stillmatic. But I love it. Love it to death. I even love Got Yourself a Gun. What about you, Jim? What you give a Stillmatic?
3.5. It's good.
Ooh.
I know.
But I'm not even mad at that because I agree with you. To me, it was a moment in time. Like
the
when
way they
dropped.
explain that though, it was a classic moment. Like, it was like Nas came back. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
What were you saying, Jen?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's like I gave the 3.5 just because I did just doesn't have this. It's more for nostalgia's sake. And going back, like when I look at the track list, I wouldn't listen to this whole album over again.
Right. Yeah. The more I go down the list, I think you're right because the intro was dope. Ether, Got Yourself a Gun. I don't even remember Smoking. You're the Man. A lot of people play You're the Man.
Yeah, I fuck with You the Man. Of course, Rewind, Second Childhood.
The Flyers.
Right. One mic. Destroy and Rebuild. I like that joint. Flyers.
Right.
But then after that, when you Rule and what songs are these? My Country, what the fuck is this?
That nigga said My Country, 'Tis of Thee. All right, so we got that. Scarfaces, The Fix.
No.
I'll give it a strong 4.
Yep.
Give it a strong ass 4.
That album starts really strong and then it tapers off because they try to do what they was doing with like Rockefeller artists with the R&B and
right.
It made it just different. So yeah, Scarface got way better albums that are classics.
Right. Jen, what about you with The Fix?
I am not familiar with that album, so I'm not.
Right.
I'm gonna sit this one out. What was on that?
Guess Who's Back?
Guess Who's Back?
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that song. I can think that's kind of indicative of kind of where I said they gave it 5.
Yeah, got a 5.
Okay.
Got a 5. We spoke about Lil' Kim's The Naked Truth, so no need to go into that. I won't hold you. Trill OG, Bun B. I've never heard the album, so I'm like Jen on this one. I got to sit this one out.
That's a newer album, right?
This was 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that album back then, but I don't know. I was more
Trillionaire with T-Pain and Just Like That, Put It Down. Right Now with Bun B and Trey Songz.
Nah.
Yeah, like I said, I never heard this joint. And the last one, I'm not mad at this. Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yep.
I personally think it's a 5 mic album. So Jen is with me. JR, you're looking at me in that tone of face, so not a 5 mic.
I give it a 4.
Okay.
Like, yeah, 3.5 to 4. That's where I'm at with it.
All right. Hard body over there, man. It's rough, man. Shit, just the blame game itself. I'll take that shit right there. It's 5 mics for me, man. But Chris Rock talking that. Yo, blame game, man. Shit. All right, let's talk about some of our favorite issues. Jen, we all know about the Mary cover, Sitting on the Ice. What are just some of your favorite issues that you just remember? You know, maybe favorite articles, just any good dope memories that you have from any of these magazines.
One that sticks out is the Rockefeller issue, and it has that picture of Jay-Z, Dave, Memphis Bleak, and I think Beanie Siegel, and they're like laughing. It's in black and white. But I love that picture from that article, but it's from the source and it's all 3 of them on the cover. It's the ROC, but the article on the inside, it's, you know, they interview a few of them for the article, but it's that picture is just, I love it. Just the way they're laughing. And it's really the last time you kind of see all of them together like this, I think, because again, for social media, if somebody was breaking up and a group was dissolving, there was no way for you to know unless you read an article or someone issued a statement. So I know at that time, I remember reading the article kind of for telltale signs, like, is this about to be the end for this group? And the other cover that I loved, the article was the issue that I loved was the one with Kim and Foxy, and this is like right before they and the topic was pretty much like where we are now. People like, you know, is their music too vulgar? You know, the same kind of thing. And it was their chance in their article to kind of plead their case. You know, this is, you know, kind of explain their music. So those are some of my favorite issues, of course, from the source.
All right. What about you, JR? I mean, of any magazines too, of any of them. JR?
Oh, me. One of them is when they did the rap Reign Supreme, when you had the guys on one side and the females on another, and it was like Method Man, LL, Buster, I think Master P, and then you had Missy, Kim, Lauren, and Foxy on it. And it was like, that was one of the vibe covers that I thought was dope. Another one, when Janet did the Velvet, when she did the vibe cover with the Velvet Rope, when she first came back with that album, and she wearing the black, and she's telling you
the black John,
a Mickey and Minnie tattoo down there. Yeah. And yeah, she talked about that. Another cover that I liked was the Mary cover that she did on the Ebony, actually, when she started talking about Share My World and leaving Puff, and her going on her own and working with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Rodney Jerkins, and she was ghetto fabulous then. It was no longer the girl in the boots and the bubble coats, and now it's like she's fly now, you know what I'm saying? So that was another one. And probably my last favorite is, honestly, my mom still has this in her house. It's the cover with Who's the Greatest on the Ebony, and it's Whitney, Janet, and Anita. And they asked at the bottom, who is the greatest? And I think that's an awesome cover. And I think people need to understand when all three of them were winning. There was no beat. There was none of that. It was like Whitney was winning, Janet was winning, Anita was winning, everybody was winning, and they were black, and it was like they were killing it at the award show. You didn't know who was gonna win. It was like all three of them was taking everything home. So just goes to show that everybody was winning at one time, and maybe we need to get back to that, people. So that's another favorite cover of mine. So,
all right, so what about you, Vag?
Couple of issues, but just off the top, I think that the issue when Dr. Dre left Death Row in the Source magazine, and they had like the Death Row chair behind them and all that, because Dr. Dre low key had a lot of covers.
Oh no, he did, bro. I did the cover for this ep already, and I was like, damn, Dre been on the cover of the Source like 7-8 times.
Yeah, but that one was one of those like the Tribe breakup, right? Like, this is where I find out what it is, because Dre's saying he's talking. He ain't talking anywhere else. So it was that. Obviously, the Tupac joint, vibe from when he was in prison, because you didn't really see much of that with hip hop, right? Or I guess in general, but a cover story for somebody who was locked up, and then the follow up with Big and Puff on the cover.
Right.
The one where they messed up with the title having the East versus West, but when you read the article, really kind of wasn't that, based off of like, especially what Puff was saying. He was trying to squash and be peace with it. But it caught my attention, and again, like we said earlier, it just felt like you were getting more information, more comprehensive information from the Vibe when they did articles. Taking nothing away from anybody who did the Source, because it was for hip hop heads, but this felt like it was for hip hop heads, but it was for business, the music business employee, and so on and so forth. So you felt like you were getting a little bit more, and I think a lot of those articles. And lastly, the one you said, Gang Starr was like my favorite group before Tribe really started to take that for me, and I knew Master Pill was out. One of probably my favorite at this point, Gang Starr record. They was on the cover. I'ma just tell y'all real quick. Ill Will is my cousin. Yes, I grew up around Nas, so there you have it. But knowing that he was in there, this is like the first time. This is a dude I'm seeing like every weekend, and I'm like, man, he would be rocking,
right,
and all of that, and it was just a dope magazine for me on a personal level, but also because it was like Gang Starr's back, and I love Daily Operations, so it just was packed with so much. Like you named, probably half of it came from that damn issue.
Yeah.
So that was a big one for me, also.
Yeah. Same with me. That's one of my favorite. I mean, I love Hard to Earn. Anybody who knows me knows I love Subway Trains, just because Graph is like my first love of hip hop. So Gang Starr on the Subway Train, dog, that covers gold. And then, like you said, the Omatic story in there was crazy. Rap Pages had this joint where it was an all DJ issue, and this was the first time they had an interview with Premier called Deep Concentration with Premier. And this was the first time ever you just heard Premier talk about making beats. So again, for people now, it's not like YouTube. There is no Premier YouTube channel, and he's talking about the floppy disk and how he made all these. Nah, you never heard Premier talk anything outside of a Gang Starr interview. So for me, that was gold. I talked about the XXL with the Voodoo Child piece on D'Angelo. That Vibe piece with Pac in jail, I think that hit me so much because it was such a dope interview. Pac was like, yo, Thug Life is dead. I don't represent that anymore. You know, and it was like, wow, like Pac is really growing. So it threw me when the next time I see Pac, he's like, yo, fuck that, you know, fuck Bad Boy Records in California Love. I'm like, yo, what the fuck, nigga? You just said this was dead. Like, and I think that really like stuck with me for a while. And I kind of held it against Pac for a long time because it was just like, yo, nigga, was you lying over here? But now again, I'm a grown ass man. The nigga's in jail. Suge says, yo, I can get you out of jail, buy your mom's a house. Nigga, I would have done whatever the fuck you had to do to get out of jail too. As a kid, I didn't understand that. As a grown man, I totally do. That was it. But this is one of my favorite issues. I always keep this one out. This was like the underground issue. It's like Pharaoh, Fought, Moose, just talking about. Basically, this is like from '98. So this is like, yo, why aren't y'all selling out? Why aren't y'all just rhyming over Swiss beats? Why aren't y'all just rhyming over Trackmaster stuff? Whatever. Again, the ads. You got a young boy Tyrese up here in the Tommy Hilfiger ad. You know what I mean? You know, and it's just, and then another thing about the record report, you want it to be the first review. Like it was cool if you over here on the sideline, you know, but you want it to be like when you get to the record review, you wanted it to be your face right there on the record review. You know what I mean? So yeah, just so many dope issues, man. I love the Vibe issue with TLC. But yeah, just dope. And then they used to always do these joints too, the fat tape. They give you like what mixtape they kind of made right there will be the dope tape for you to put together. And it wasn't, and for people out there, this was an example of the hip hop quotable. Like most got this from mathematics. You know what I mean? So again, man, and then they would also give you the sneak preview. See, again, without, you know, the internet, you had to see the sneak preview, you know, what albums is coming and what dates they coming. So kind of giving you a little bit of anticipation for it. So, you know, definitely,
on top of every other thing we named earlier. That's right in that damn magazine. That's crazy.
Right. And again, the ads. What the fuck is Chico DeBarge wearing? Like, what kind of sweater? This nigga look like he got on a rug or something. I don't even know what kind of sweater this nigga got on. Like,
but you know, that was a place too if you were a designer.
True indeed.
To get your stuff over, to get your designs in front of people, and that launched a lot of years off of being in these magazines.
Great point. Great point.
A lot of HBCU outfits in that damn.
Yep. Again, you know, we get the articles like, yo, Tash is dropping November 9th. Like, yo, you know, get hyped for it, you know. So again, man, I miss these. God, man, it's just so much nostalgia in these joints, man.
We can't leave this out.
What's that?
It's where we all got it from. The Little Kim promotional for hardcore.
Hardcore, yeah. That
was in my desk at EAA. Like that shit was sprout out over there.
Yeah, at your desk at work.
Yeah, at a jazz station, right? You know what I mean? Yo, crazy. Like you got Capone and Noriega for John Blaze. Like, you know what I mean? Like you got the leather outfit on. You know, John Blaze, man. Just so many dope memories in these, man. Like, so here's the thing. Like, what do you? Of course, it's the internet. But when do you think like magazines really took that hit? Like, when when did you stop checking for them? Like, you go to the bookstore, you see the source, you don't even pick it up anymore. You know.
So you asking like when did it stop in general, or just like
kind of like when did it stop for you? Because of course the internet basically killed the magazine because we didn't need them anymore. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like, you know, we got all the information in front of us. You know, you guys now xxl.com, you're reporting stuff in real time. So there's no need to wait a month and to find out what's going on. Like, but when did you all stop? Because I know some people who were still buying the magazines. You know what I mean? And sometimes people even buying the online subscription to the magazines. But when did it kind of fall off for y'all?
I'll probably
once I got the college.
My fault, Jen. You go.
About 2008, and I'll say that's probably because that was the time of like the Great Recession. So a lot of magazines were being forced online anyway because they couldn't maintain like a physical presence. So it was around that time, and that's when it felt like everything was getting shuffled and jumbled around. The source was falling off terribly. And like you said, a lot of publications were downsizing or moving to online strictly. And then there were message boards now where you could share and talk about, like these things didn't have to rely on a magazine coming out every month to tell me like what the new music was. I could go on a message board and somebody would have this information already. So the combination of those two things, I feel like for me, just kind of phased out buying a physical magazine.
The message board is a great point, because I remember I was always over on OK Player, and like OK Player was like, yo, we was Black Twitter before Black Twitter, like, you know, because that's just where everybody would come to congregate to just talk about their music. So that's a great point. Even these joints, man, check out this promo, man, like the Coming of the Kings, like that's just a dope ass promo, like. Most dropping on October 12th, Monts dropping on October 19th. Like, this is how labels used to roll out promo for stuff, like to get you hyped. Like, yo, we get Most one week, and the next week we get Pharaoh. Like, that's what I miss, man. That's what I miss. Veg, what about you with magazines? What do you think was it for you?
My shit gonna sound corny, but it's not. I had a kid, man. I was 24. I got married. You know what I'm saying? I graduated college. I had a radio show. I was just like, man, I ain't reading that shit. I'll just let these interns go and find out stuff, and I'll use the good old, you know. Kill was like a source for that because he was on OK Player. He strike up the same kind of conversations in the office, and you know, so there was ways to find out that information. In general, I think also the blog era helped finish off magazines because like two dope boys took away the written part of it. But at the end of the day, it was like, well, why am I reading about it? They got the video, like, you know, so yeah, it's unfortunate. And all of them are still around. Like XXL is still around as a website owned by Town Square Media, which is out here in Jersey. Okay, but it is a skeleton crew. Like a couple times I applied, and I was like, "Man, fuck y'all!" Like, like y'all need me,
right? Gerald, what about you?
Once I got to college, for me, because again, the message board started. All that started, so I can go right there and do that. And then my mom was the one getting the subscriptions of all these. I'm college. I ain't paying for this. I ain't got no money. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm broke. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? So it kind of stopped then. And once, you know, you online and you can go on message boards, it was like, what did I need with them anymore? You know what I mean? And I will come home and my mom be like, oh, yo, you want to read the Vibe? I'm like, why? Like after I'm like, I don't need it. So it's probably when I got to college and it was done. It was a wrap.
Man, I remember, man, y'all, there's so many memories in these. Like even them doing the graffiti pages like that. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Just throwing up the graph, man. And then I don't know if y'all remember Echo, man. I used to love their ads in here. There was one for Beat Nuts. I was just looking at in here, which is crazy. I need to go through these magazines, man.
Beat Nuts and Echo. I forgot about it.
Yeah. Hold on, it is somewhere there. It is dope. It's a dope joint too, man. It's dope, man. But man, I think.
To this point, because you said 08, right? These were the last time I bought magazines. These are 07.
07.
And this is crazy. Like Jay-Z's head is covering up the title of the magazine. Like that he was already powerful because I would have been like, hey yo, put the logo, what y'all doing?
Right.
And then this one from the source, 10 years after Big's death. They did like a 10th anniversary. That's when I was just buying it, like, oh, those covers are dope, but I ain't buying shit else.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Now this was the Echo joint, like with the Beat Nuts.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Wow.
So I mean, just so many dope times with these magazines, man. Just so many dope times, so many dope memories, man. And we're never gonna get them back. We're never gonna get them back, man. We're never gonna get them back. And now, like you kind of said, we got too much information. Now I forgot this too. This was out of Vibe. This article right here, Bobito used to do. He shout out all the college radio stations, and if you zoom in real quick, you see Baltimore, DC, you know, WEAA. Because I didn't even know at the time. I didn't even know Morgan had a station. So I'm reading Vibe, and I'm like, wait a second, you know. And this is the same article. This article has been in my wall in college, to my mother's house, to this house, because it was like, as soon as I saw that, I circled it, and I was on some shit like, I want to work up there. Like, and to this day, it's just still hanging in my studio because this is like so huge to me. So that Bobito piece. So again, magazines for me had some life-changing shit for me. Like, really gave me some inspiration. I think the same way I'm sure someone's get inspired on, you know, online. Somebody may share something and you get inspired to go out there and work harder and stuff like that. So definitely a dope. Jen, let them know where can they get at you, where can they follow you, what do you have going on, what are you working on, what are you cooking up?
What am I cooking up? You can find me. I know that it's not the platform for everybody, but I'm usually on TikTok, giving style tips. You can also find me on Twitter talking about hip hop at Nola Darling. I am on TikTok at Pistols and Palo Santo. And that's it. I'll be where I have some be sharing where I'm going next.
All right. Would you do the stylist thing? Is that something you want to do?
I do, like, helping like people my age or women my age kind of make that transition and figure out like what to wear at this age without like looking incredibly old, but without looking like too young. So I'm trying like helping everybody walk through it in office outfits, because a lot of people are returning back to work after like 2 or 3 years of not working in an office. So it's like, what do you wear? A lot of folks are revamping their wardrobe. So I kind of each week show what it is that I'm wearing to kind of give women an idea of like, give somebody some style tips.
All right, that's dope. Veg, where can they get at you, good brother?
Hold up, I didn't know all of that about Jen. I just want to say, if you ain't made the video already, please tell these dudes, when you get older, why you shaving your facial hair off, man? Why you shaving all of it off? You do not look young. You look crazy. I mean, we know him, right? We know him. You've known him all. He had the goatee. It was dope. Dr. J is the only one that could get away with that.
A bald face man. Yeah, you don't look. You look. Listen.
Stupid.
Even though you look like a maniac. You put keep
right, like, oh, you got the sex offender haircut. Okay, okay. You don't look like your high school photo, so just stop it.
What's going on here?
Right.
You know, we gotta do it. What I love that you do, Jim, because nobody talks about how do you age gracefully. You know, I feel like just as Black folk, we don't talk about getting older. We don't talk about the health issues. We don't talk about how do you. So, like you say, Veg, either you go too hard, like, you know what, I'm gonna just shave everything so I'll look 15. Right. No, nigga, I'm 49. There's no way I'm looking fucking 15. I can shave everything off. I'm not looking 15. So we need to talk offline, because I think that's huge, because a lot of people don't have that place to go to where you are either looking like wearing men bald face with spandex tights and thinking they look cool and they don't, you know. But I don't think it's anywhere for them to go to find out like how to dress.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't look so outdated, and ways to like keep up, you know, just very small changes to your outfit. I tell people, just so you don't end up being like the straight backs and foo in the club.
Right. Right.
Hang on, it's 2012 look.
Yeah, like, it's rough, because when I go to homecoming, I see people and I'm like, y'all are struggling. Y'all, I see what you're trying to do. And I appreciate it, but no. You know what I mean? But no.
And so there's either styles that will either age you, and now like sometimes, you know, you may swing too young, and so that you may swing old, and I'm like, it's just there's a nice middle ground. I don't know. I'm not gonna look like a 25-year-old, but at the same time, I want to dress like a 60-year-old. So it's a balance.
Right. That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. We gotta talk more about that later. Vay, where can I get at you, good brother?
All right, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that at Vegas World INC. You can check out my podcast, which is a weekly hip hop podcast called Hip Hop Now Podcast. It's all about news and perspectives. It's here on YouTube, but it's also available in audio form on all your podcast listening sources, whatever you like to listen to. But also, I did a little rappity rap at one point in time in my life. You know, me and Phil got some joints. But more importantly, since I mentioned it, we put out an album called Willmatic. It's all about learning a little bit more about my cousin, Ill Will, William Graham Jr. You know, not so much like a documentary, but what you remember from what you got from Nas, especially during the Illmatic times, just gives you a deeper look of who he was in the street, as a relative, and all that good stuff, and some of my personal reflections on my relationship with him and obviously with Nas. So that's on all streaming platforms, including iTunes and especially bandcamp.com, Vegas World, inc.bandcamp.com.
And again, pay what you want for it. All proceeds goes to Vegas's aunt, Ill Will's mother, Miss Versi. We just talking about second childhood. Like Nas says, no curse in front of Miss Versi. That's Vegas's aunt. All proceeds from the album goes to her. So definitely check that out. JR, the youngest in charge. What's going on the R&B side of things, good brother?
Yeah, they're still doing R&B reps. We starting to do lives now with this young guy. His name is Kamani. He's 22 years old, and we're letting him pick like a year what he does is he go through each year and listen to R&B albums, and he listens to them and he reviews them, and he's only 22. So just like Kill, you gave me a platform. It was like you want to give other people that's gonna, help push this R&B history on. So we bringing him on the last month of every month. We bring him on alive, and we let him talk about these albums and really let him get into it, and him to be young and for him to connect to this young generation to kind of do that. I think that's so dope. So we starting to do that, but when this episode is out, it'll be out. So y'all check that out. R&B Rest, we still doing our catch stats. Definitely have some stuff we got in store, which is dope because we want to add some new stuff to the page because we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, which we're almost at 800, which is so dope. But people keep subscribing. R&B Reps on Instagram, R&B Reps on Twitter, R&B Reps on YouTube, and JR's World of Soul on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, that's it.
All right, no doubt. Y'all know me. I'm a bookworm. New books this week. History of Basketball and Sneakers by Russ Bington. He started Slam Magazine, one of the editors up there. So if you're into sneakers, this is dope. And then you also have Do You Remember, the golden era of NYC mixtapes right here. So if you love doo-wop, SNS, Ron G, Kid Capri, Dog Time, Clue, just everything with mixtapes. This is a very dope book to check out. You already know, Kill 889, Twitter, IG. Real quick, dumbest thing I heard this week, because y'all know I hear dumb shit.
Oh, Lord.
This one guy said that Guru's peak was Jazzmatazz 3. And I said, well, my nigga, I can't, because one, my new job is, I'm an English teacher, because nobody fucking understands what words fucking mean anymore. You know what I mean? I'm like, his peak, that's his highest level. You think Jazzmatazz 3 is Guru's highest level? And then he went on to say that Guru was better without Premiere.
All right. Cut. Did you block him?
I did. But I want people to understand, I don't block people because I disagree with you. If you say 4 dumb ass things to me, I have to block you because I don't want those type of spirits around me. I believe in spirits, and I don't want that dumb ass spirit to jump onto me and then I start saying dumb shit. So right there. Bye. You get 4 times. So, but yeah. So that's the craziest thing. I've never heard a human being say Guru was better without Premiere. And he said something like Gangstar songs didn't last the test of time. He's like, outside of DeWitt, Mass Appeal, and something else. He was like, and I was just like, wow, okay, cool. All right.
Wow.
You're gonna keep talking. You're gonna keep talking.
All right.
So, yeah, that's it. I will check y'all next week, good peoples.
All right.